Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker. This is Wargame AirLand Battle, and we're looking at the Clash of the Clans 2, big, huge 4v4 team tournament. Currently the biggest one running. And we have a pack versus pact, which is always good. Representing the color blue, we have EWGG. And representing the color red, we have Kavopici. That's how their name is pronounced, Kavopici. Hopefully it is. And for EWGG, we have One Eye Shot, G Army, Gumpel Afonso, Sorcha Boy. And for Kavopici, we have Duros SBK, who's quite high rated, Makapek, Edel, and Moon. So each team has a nice selection of pretty high rated players. Now this is Dalarna. Dalarna is a classic 4v4 format because you have a middle location which two people should be vying for, one on each side, which means that one side will become very heavily imbalanced with a 2v1 situation, and then the other side can become imbalanced with a 2v1 situation. So how these matches play out is very different each time depending on how each player really values the territory. The middle should only be handled by one, of course, because there's only 3 bases here compared to the 4 that can be collected here, or 5 you count this one. So right off the bat we have some MiGs, and we also have a SU-7 BKL bomber here, and what sort of damage you can do with these opening moves is pretty heavy. Looks like our blue players are having a little bit of a better idea what to do. They're going to go ahead and bomb this forest right here, which means that this reinforcing point could potentially go off to the blue players, EWGG. And we have a similar bomb over here. It's actually a very interesting choice because it means they can't grab this forest location, which means they're pretty free to grab this town here, which they would otherwise have not been able to do as effectively. And there's a small little push up here. We see there's a BTR 70 shallow, BTR 60 PV, and a single Spetsnaz here, but there's so many tanks here. This should get cleaned up relatively easy. There's a T-80U coming up from the rear and some BMPTs, but overwhelmingly this is just going to go in favor of blue team. Just looks like a 2v1 type situation here, with Makapek taking this central location. T-80U, okay, even got a shot off there, which is kind of crazy. But this this location here, this town, should be pretty easily defensible for the Kavopici, so they should be fine on that front. On the other front, however, we're seeing that blue is completely stuck up into the reinforcement point of red, and they're in fact mobilizing these UAZ Spig 9s, which are very, very cheap and are insanely cost effective. But remember, this is Conquest. Cost effectiveness doesn't, let's say short-term cost effectiveness might not pay out as well as you would hope it to. While this flank is overwhelmingly going to go to blue, it's a huge push up here. They're able to secure Delta, and currently blue is getting a +1 because they've gained this middle base. So in fact, there is no red command here at all. There are red forces moving up to try and secure the middle location, but no command there just yet, and they will need absolutely to get a command here any moment. Speaking of which, this Yak does in fact get off some napalm, and oh my god, kills off ridiculous amounts of UAZ Spig 9s. So this will probably shift pretty well in favor of red here, as they're going to use these Tatras, which are of course empty vehicles, to try and bait any kind of fire they can. Remember, points don't matter in this, so any kind of one-point vehicles or empty supply trucks that you have, throwing them at the enemy will in fact make them lose resources, and will also give you ideas of positionings and stuff like that for artillery fire and for bombers. And speaking of which, here comes a huge bomber. This could be a turn-timing bomber, and ooh, look at the stretch of field this covers. Not quite on as target as I would hope, and here comes a second bomber, also going to get this area here, and this absolutely could turn the tides of the battle. Ooh, OT-81's getting so close. Are they in the fire? Not quite, and are in a good position to strike on this side flank here. There is an infantry running through the fire, and ooh, the vehicles are going in as well. This is not good. This is absolutely not good. Oh no, no, low health, going through fire. This is bad. This is called friendly fire damage. I don't think there's actually a statistic in the game for it, and infantry have in fact dropped right in front of the reinforcement point. This bold position here, which was held by blue so well, is now being manhandled by red team, who are currently behind, as far as the scoreboard goes, but despite the positioning, they're looking very, very good on this flank. They've successfully defended the reinforcement block. All the while, on this bottom flank here, looks like they're actually pushing this reinforcement block attempt by blue away very effectively, and will in fact be able to maintain this wooded location here, which can be used for flanking and whatnot, for dangerous stuff. And a little bit of slowdown on that flank. Back to the main battlefront. Blue is hurting pretty bad, but oh my god, running a tank through napalm, this must be the theme of the day. Just running tanks through napalm. And one goes down, another OT 8100 lured into the napalm field as the T-55 spawns. Oh, that's why. He's spawning on the napalm and just losing units left and right. Now, Pack did defend this pretty well here. Pack, I mean Red. Red did fill it, but he's got to continue being cost effective and got to be able to push out of there. ST-122 trying to chase down a helicopter probably won't happen. I will be completely honest. Looks like we have a spawning on this command here. If this command were to fall, that would be absolutely huge. Note there is a cliff facing here. So if he were to move this command right here, up the cliff, he would be mostly invisible. Funny how terrain has such a huge effect on all these sorts of things. And Afghansky is now out and running through the fire as well. No, don't do this. This is a bad idea. Afghansky going to try and target down the helicopter, but it's in fact stunned and might die before the helicopter dies. It's looking pretty close. In fact, the Afghansky will go down. Just running through fire is not considered to be a very typically good strategy. On our other flank, looks like, yes, Red has in fact taken the jungle region, and we'll be trying to creep through there with tanks. Why is this returning to the game? Why is this becoming a thing? For people who are unaware, who weren't watching the program early on, in open beta and in closed beta, I guess, tanks were so good and infantry were so bad that people were throwing tanks into forest to clear infantry just because you could. And people are still doing that. It's still considered to be a really good strategy. And the idea is that the tank will soak a little bit of damage from infantry hits while your infantry kill their infantry, and then the tank moves back as he takes about 50% damage. Gets the supply truck, heals up, no pain, you gain ground. It's a good strategy, it's just really wonky. And we're seeing something pretty similar here from Blue, except he doesn't really have any infantry backing up. He's actually rallying them in now. Actually, that's Red rallying. This is Red's reinforcement point, and Red's in fact reinforcement block. But yeah, Blue's just doing something really wonky. He doesn't have infantry with him. He should bring in one infantry squad with him at least. And actually going to try and move across here to gain a position here. And actually, look at this. Moving this command to a great position behind this ridge here. Very, very smart from Mr. Moon. And the tanks will be sliding along. I'm interested to see what the point of this is. The big problem here for him is that he doesn't really have any AA, and that's a really wonky looking AA unit, isn't it? He doesn't have any AA here to support, so basically these jet bombers can kind of come in here and just relentlessly, endlessly bomb all day, every day, just until there's nothing left. And oh my god, all but half of a Big 9 is dead. The command actually getting completely pulled back just in time, moving back a little bit prematurely, and decides, yes, that is in fact the right move. There's also some kind of Spetsnaz just over here, and it's been spotted, so this shouldn't do too much. Can't do too much. All it needs is an anti-infantry vehicle to come and take that out. And in fact, we're going to see some infantry running through the woods, and we're going to maybe see some tanks come into support. Maybe. I mean, the beauty behind the infantry and tanks in the woods is that once the infantry clean up all the infantry in the woods, the tanks can go do their regular business, which is just killing stuff in open fields. Otherwise, you have to wait. Your opponent gets a chance to spawn more units. It's bad for everyone. T-64s, T-80Us, all going to try and take it this single T-80 UK, which of course is the heaviest armed and heaviest armored command in the game. It's kind of in a bad position right now. It is soaking tons of damage, and it's firing back tooth and nail with those reflex rockets, doing quite a bit of damage. But it's it's starting to look bad. It might just happen that the T-80U might go down. There is an enemy T-80U firing on it, and the infantry are just moving into such a position where they can flank that tank on. Yes, it will in fact pull back. But it was too late! T-80U is down. And now Delta Base goes to Team Red, and looks like Red has gained domination. Their effective strategy of supply blocking over on here, taking out that tank with long range rockets, very, very good. Lack of response time from the opponent. Here comes the action. This is kind of what I was talking about, just a lack of AA, and looks like those were actually overcompensating. In fact, whoa, descents moving through here, probably going to get cleaned up though. I shouldn't get too excited about things. Things are not that exciting. There's only 3 and they're really cheap, easy tanks. And this is the kind of stuff where you need AA. If they would have had stationed AA in the woods here, they could have cleaned up those bombers, and this attack would have been awesome. And they would have had some rockets in the woods to attack vehicles. Like, everything would have just been so much better. But alas, there's a single infantry in here just causing so much chaos. We have a Moto Strelitzky, which is now on fire because the TO-55 has started napalming him, and looks like he'll be running away. There is a call for artillery from Moon, and Blue will just continue pushing through the woods. I'm not entirely sure that's the best play, but open fields generally don't work very well in this game either. It would be the best play in the worst possible situation. Red is in a pretty good spot right now. They have to play defensively, and they will momentarily come back. I have no doubt of it. They only need a few more. Note that the reason why they're +1 is because they've gained this base, and they've denied this base. This base, if it ever activates again, there's only a command here, and it's in a really bad spot. Like, this is a huge thing. There's a ridge right here, right? And all rockets guiding forward, which is kind of weird. So it also allows for this angle attack here. So this ridge only blocks from this angle, which of course there will never be anything. Whereas this one, because of the positioning of the armies, blocks this. This is the only corridor. There's also the fact that there is a ridge here, and the opening is basically right here. So as long as Red defends this point here, this will be secure. Now keep in mind, there is this big giant barrage of tanks coming here. Pretty sizable. Hopefully they have some air bombers to deal with this. Like I said, not a lot of AA sitting around here. Not tons. We have a Mitlib Strela, which is decent, but this invested in the woods, it's going to be very hard for it to spot actual planes. And one good napalm, one good cluster bomb could actually just completely wipe out this whole army of descents, which, like I said, are very cheap tanks. They're insanely cost-effective tanks. They are 10-point tanks. These are what the Polish people want. And here comes the Strela bombs away. What's going on here? Why are these bombs going so far away? And actually, not going for what I thought he'd go for. Here comes the napalm though, and ooh, right in the wood location, burning a little bit of the retreat path as an Afghansky moves in to try and stun, I guess. I don't know why you would use Afghanskys against tanks, but here we go. It is the cult of the autocannon. Have faith in the autocannon. Maybe it might persevere, but I just don't see it happening. The autocannon's not that good in this game anymore. Afghanskys are going to continue moving in the woods. This looks like a death sentence for these Afghansky pilots. Drivers, pilots, where are these people? Because these Afghanskys should just momentarily get blown up to pieces. Already shooting at fire left and right, and there's one low, and the other one, yes, should go down pretty easily. It does. Here's a weird one. It's a tag for artillery fire on a command. Except the command isn't here. It's over here. A little bit of fake spotting there. And a SPU-15 PV trying to just cut into here. So this region, as I said, this is the most important region right here. This little area here. Because this protects this. If they can secure this, this is fine, and they continue taking the lead. Speaking of which, they are +2 right now. But by the way, on this other flank, looks like we see some VDVs coming in and smashing through these shallows and T64s. Might be a little bit more extension from Red, who has been playing pretty well up until this point. This is a huge misstep. The VDV shock trooper moving through the woods, taking whatever it can. There are some infantry here, which is good. And that should be enough to push back these VDVs. Speaking of crazy battles, Reserve Schützens are moved in. And this is something I've never understood in the game, why people use these units. They're 5-point units, they're the cheapest of the cheapest. They're not particularly great, they're one of the weakest infantry in the game. Why would you cheap out on the cheapest thing in the game? That's like going to the dollar store and saving 50 cents on tinfoil and getting their crappy, cheap tinfoil. That to me is crazy, but a lot of people do it. A lot of people like these Reserve Schützens. I'm not a fan. And they just get squashed in every single encounter all the time, at the time. So we're looking at a pretty sizably great position here for Red. They are slowly creeping through these woods with BTR shallows. Of course, not going to be the best unit for this. They also have BMPTs mixed in, and just because of the sheer numbers, they might be able to smash through this. But if an actual large infantry force shows up, these units are in trouble. And speaking of which, here is a large infantry force that has shown up, and one RPG away dead. And let's see again, the other RPG away. Half dead, almost dead. Will die momentarily. More tanks and infantry moving up. Not realizing that he didn't move all his forces. Kind of problematic. Lost a lot of units for cheap, for free there. And all these descents also cleaned up. It's kind of a wash right now who's in the lead. They're basically even score to the point where it might be called a tie. It's so close. And this attack from Blue has overwhelmingly flopped. Has not gained any important ground. The command is in a really awkward situation right now, but overwhelmingly Blue is just not in a great position right now. Whereas Red, his attack has also pretty well flopped. These VDVs are chewing through these last bit of tanks. All the big hard-hitting things like the shallows and the BMPTs are all dead. And, what, this tank will survive? Still got 17 members, never mind. And like 12 rockets left over. So he should die. Lots of mortal shelties in here should clean it up, but for the most part, this push's power is gone because all the tanks and vehicles are dead. And there's only infantry here, which are at best a unit that can clean the woods, but that's it. They're not going to be capable of moving in and taking out any of this stuff. Whereas the tanks, tank destroyer prototypes, and whatnot, they absolutely could. Some free U-Rolls coming in here. Once again, just trying to throw them away to get rid of some ammunition supplies for the enemy. Always smart. And we have... Basically, Red has a pretty good figuring of what's going on here. He has most of his forces coming in to protect this VSOT. And Conquer's actually going to get a good shot off here on the command. Will it go? Dead. Conquers with this insanely long-range rockets. It does, in fact, get a big monster kill. And now it's going to turn its eyes towards these T-72s, which are completely distracted by the TO-55s in the woods. Which they should be. They're very dangerous. One T-72 down. And looks like the second one should go momentarily. One BRDM down. There is a helicopter bringing support here. And here comes a helicopter rocket, the TO-55. T-72 is in a really awkward position and should have retreated quite a while ago. It goes down to a helicopter. And the battle for this important location continues. It looks as though Lima will in fact go to our blue team, the EWGG, as another command has been rallied in. Also, this one is blocked. That's kind of funny. Now, why are blue not in the lead right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Blue is not in the lead right now because of one little dipshit commando. This guy right here. Speaking of which, there's a T-72 here and a Motostrelki here, and well, I'm kind of interested to see how this ends. T-72 is just happily firing away la-ti-da on the ST-122, and the Motostrelki still not really moving up to kill it. In fact, this T-72 might be able to do way more damage than it ought to in this particular position, because no one's engaging it. I think people use the right-click attack command when it missed. That was it. So Motostroke's coming to this position once again. This is a very important position. He knows it, Mr. Moon. And the battle raging on with reservation shoots-ins in the woods against Motostroke's. This is not good. Throwing away units there actually just lost 20 reserve shoots-ins there, and probably will lose all these reserve shoots-ins. Like I said, they're just not a very good unit. They are realistically the only unit in the game that needs to be in a town to be useful. So I would think at this point blue is tactically very much winning. I say this because they seem to be losing less of their bombers, which is a huge consideration. As I say, he probably might lose this one. No, doesn't. And they have better position on the map. They have the middle base, which is awesome. And yak! They can push. And in fact, +1 will go to the EWGG as random command kill does in fact occur here from a bomber, I'm gonna guess. Didn't see it, could have been a bomber. Probably a bomber, probably not artillery. And this is all just a mess. Perfectly tied game in now. Perfectly tied game. And EWGG is winning randomly. So this looks like it's going to be our format for now. Battles on the flanks of the woods. Really, finally, a command is being placed in this middle base. There has been almost no effort to try and take this middle location. There are so many freaking infantry here. So many tank destroyers. Like, there's no way they're securing this. And it's weird because on this kind of map, the middle base has a pretty strong importance. In a situation where you're both pushing each other, the middle is the stalemate decider. And right now, they're basically both just pushing each other. I mean, they're dead even. You don't see a match that is this even. It is likely that because these guys are using such cheap units, they will actually run out of units before they'll win the match. That is an absolute possibility. And in that kind of scenario, it goes back to old school tactics. The person with the more existing army on the map just automatically wins. Because these guys are using a lot of cheap units. Like those reservation shoots-ins are really cheap. All the tank destroyers in this are very, very cheap. They're using a lot of one-point infantry vehicles, which I don't know. I'm really kind of undecided about. I think because these matches are so long, they're 40, 45 minutes long, you should be using, everything should have more oomph to it, should have more lasting. So if you're using a 1-point vehicle, that means you've wasted one slot in your deck. You have one vehicle that does absolutely nothing. And that seems like it would be a terrible, terrible waste. Now, speaking of terrible wastes, we're going to see Motostroke's will get deployed first. Spoos are going to run in and, losing all of them relentlessly. Please drop your payload already. And here comes another one, another sacrificial lamb running into the woods. And actually going to drop this one. 30 reservation shoots, no surprise. And it looks like we're going to see some Conquerors who are going to be joining the fray. But Conquerors are only good for long-range attacks. They're not very good in melee range. And if there's any lesson that'll teach it, it'll be this one right here. Hello, Conquerors. Goodbye, Conquerors. Speaking of which, looks like we have a call for attack here by army. There is, in fact, a knowledge that there is a command at this location, suddenly. And if they can destroy that, they'll get back to the lead. But for now, it looks like it's shifted again. It's now Kavopici's attack, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but as far as you know, Kavopici is a classy drink that what's his name? Leon Phelps drinks. He's from like that SNL skit back before. What's even his name? Oh god, he's the guy from Iron Man. Help me out here, people. Anyway, he did Leon Phelps as like his his like first big movie. No, that's not him. It's somebody else. He's much older. I'm an idiot. That guy's first big movie is like Hotel Rwanda. Totally different guy. Anyway, Leon Phelps is awesome. Drink some Kavopici. Blue actually doing a pretty solid push here. They have an empty vehicle at the front and a Radvedska falling behind, as well as a lot of tanks being pushed through here, as well as infantry and tanks in the woods pushing through the woods. So this is a pretty powerful multi-flank attack. We have BMP-3 already going to start firing. Remember, this U-roll is empty, and this can act as a spotter. It can waste ammunition. It can do all sorts of amazing stuff. Looks like it's done none of those so far. BMP-3, to her insanely high range, is going to be able to do some damage. And I'm pretty sure these guys have sack flows. It doesn't say here, but I'm pretty sure they do. And that's it's a really wonky targeting system. Basically, they lock onto a target, and if the target stops being visible, the rocket will spin out of control and just, hit something else, like an air unit. It's a really wonky system. It allows for like tank destroyer rockets to destroy helicopters and like AA to hit vehicles. It's really weird. Speaking of which, PTR Conquerors in the woods here, not going to be the best matchup here. Reserve Shootins all going to get axed down, as overwhelmingly on this flank, I'm seeing a pretty good Kavopici. And on this flank, we're seeing very good EWGG, just pushing through, using tanks effectively, picking up what they can. And, ooh, this is not good. Lots of Motos Jellies have actually been deployed onto the reinforcement point. And now it's Motos Jellies versus tanks, and this never goes well for tanks. Ever, 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 ever. BMPTs all get thrown to the slaughter. And unfortunately, EWGG just not pulling back in time. Not realizing, like, you need that infantry count in order for us to do stuff. They just don't have it right now. You need that infantry count to hold the reinforcement point. You can use these tank destroyers and tanks to hit this stuff. That's fine. But otherwise, it's problematic. Speaking of which, this Berusia was a flavor of the month quite a while ago. Almost burned to death. Barely surviving. I think the T-80U is also pretty dead, isn't it? Yes, 2 hit points and 5. So those are both very close to dead. It won't take too much longer for them to hit. Whoa! Yaks coming in. This is our napalm bombers. They're going to try and clear at random locations. Misses on the first one. Misses on the second one. No go payday there. They will be back in 30 seconds, however. As this T-72 is still alive. It's crazy. It's been here for a long time. It's been doing damage for a long time. Way longer than it ever should have been. I look at this ammunition. I don't know why I said it like that. It's expelled 50% of its reserves. Still a call from attack. Somebody please destroy this command vehicle. And that's one of the cool things about Conquest. It's absolutely practical, if you know where a command is, to throw away a bomber to kill it. Absolutely practical. Helps you win the game. What's not practical, however, is all-inning. I will guarantee you every team that all-ins will lose. And here comes a murder of Delphines. So let's look from the lead man here. And let's do the old hide hub here and just hang out here and watch this awesome graphical stuff. It's actually got a decent camouflage here. When I was at the War Museum, they actually explained to me why they do this. Basically, when a plane is above you, you want them to see what's below them, so you don't know they're there. And what's below should look like what's above, so the bottom has to be white and the top has to be green, and that way it kind of screws with the enemy fighter. But of course, in a modern era where people don't really care about camouflage so much, it does matter. It's more like a traditional type thing by this point. Oh, that's kind of interesting, but yeah, it doesn't matter too much, because once a rocket locks on, it's on. You can do whatever combat maneuvers you want, like it's still gonna go and try and kill you, because they're guided missiles now. They don't have ones that just shoot in the direction anymore. And boom. Gonna drop some cluster bomb back on this force again. Trying to get that Tunguska. Ooh, huge miss there. Does force the command in position temporarily, however, which is going to slow down that clock quite a bit. Whew, it is a hot day out today. Hottest day of the fall, because it's fall now. And yes, in fact, Pact has actually cleaned up this entire location here, taken some damages, but not too much. And Pact is basically in a position again to make another push. They have to push through these woods. Getting this Buratino here would be huge, which only has 4 ammunition, which is a weird number. I mean, can you even fire a Buratino? I'm pretty sure you need, like, it's firing. I thought you needed 15 to fire it, but I was wrong. You can fire 4 shells, and this is going to be a terrific sight because like, a Buratino does great damage when it has lots of ammunition, but when it has very little, it does very little. The spread is all crazy, and it just doesn't do anything. So I know there's stuff happening right here. Yes, all sorts of stuff happening. But this is my cast, and we're watching this Buratino fire 4 freaking bullets very slowly. Possibly insanely, majestically slowly. How many pontifical pointed pronunciations can I personify in this performance of Palacious ponderance? P words. So this takes a long time. Wow, that's a crazy time. By the time he is done firing, they could have moved by now. It's weird how much preparation this takes. In fact, I think it's even going slower. I think realizing that we're watching him, he's like, well, I'm nervous now. I'm slowing down. There we go. 4 rockets fire. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. How little damage can 4 rockets do? Actually, that did pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. That was a sick rocket. It actually did really well. It could definitely get this particular T-80U is close to death. Again, that was surprisingly good, actually. I did not expect it to do that well. And back to the battle at hand. Looks like Red has a encercle of motostrelcies here, which have been basically maintaining a forward position for our representatives of the color red, and chomping through these reserve sheets like mad. Luckily, some Vysedkaris have joined the fight, and oh god, artillery on the Vysedkaris. Oh god, more artillery on the... Actually, it's not hitting them at all, actually. Now look at this. And this... never mind. This will definitely be a big Motostrelci win here. Motostrelci plus Motostrelci. I don't know who told me this one time, but apparently it stands for like motorized infantry, and they're both basically the same unit. There's absolutely no difference between them, except for the country of origin. I don't know if that's true or not, but they have roughly the same combat strength, despite being from 2 distinct countries and having 2 very distinct loadouts. But overall, they represent the exact same strength. True? I have no idea. It could be true. Possible. It looks like this Motostrelci will get cleaned up by reinforcements. There's a Praga here, which of course can do very well versus infantry, and a T-72 will be joining in the woods. Currently, there's a pretty big lead here. We're at a weird point. Neither player is really dominating. It's been in these kind of games where people are kind of equals. Generally speaking, the team that is higher in score wins, which should be a duh, but in this situation, the higher in score is actually red, and this is called madness right here. We're seeing the weirdest tank push possible. 1 T-80, 1 BMP-3, 2 BMP-3s, and 2 Maryukas with a bunch of supply trucks. It's forced the command out. It's got a +1 back to the blue team, and they've pushed the command out. They've accomplished their objective. Now, there is a Praga in the back. There are some shallows and T-72s being rallied in here to try and deal with this, and this rallying could be just too much, because this isn't a big army. It looks like one because of all these supply trucks, but trust me when I say it's not a big army, and the T-88 and Beam 3 are going to move back. Malyutka is still out in the open. That's kind of weird. And the Praga also still moving forward. Could see some more sacrificial lambs. Sorchaboy and his sacrificial lambs. Always want to protect those ultra powerful T-80s. The bread and butter, the backbone of the Soviet-Russian army. As more units will be moving up. We have 3 T-80As here from red. But this blow here, this historical blow, could be too much. If there's not a command here soon, this will be game pretty soon. We have 16 minutes left, 1 point every 3 seconds. Yeah, after 5 minutes, they'll be in the lead. Not good. Praga doing a little bit of firing damage, but is going to get killed. T-80A takes a pot shot at T-80U, not enough. Reflex rockets, very small quantities. And, oh god, that was a blow up of a destruction of T-80A. So overwhelmingly, it was like I said the S word. A successful attack. Cleared out this command. But it gained the objective, but it did not gain the kill rates. It hugely missed out on kill rates, and if a command can get back in here, that'd be amazing. On the other flank, it looks like Blue is finally taking this Lima base. This is something they've been aiming towards the entire game. They've also taken this India base, something they have as well been aiming towards the entire game. And they're in such a very winningest position right now. We haven't seen +2 this game. It's been so close that we're 15 minutes from the end, and we're only just now hitting +2. All the sick, amazing teams are getting matched up against bad teams. And I say bad in the nicest possible way. Are getting +3s and +4s and whatnot. This is just bad. And we're going to see a little bit of a tank push here as well. We're going to try and push up, do a little dancing damage. T-80Us, SU-12254s all in the mix here. And he did a little bit of damage. He pulls back, using the U-roll to try and cover, hoping that something will target it. Nothing is just yet. And it's desperation time for Pack. We have Delphines coming. Keep in mind, we're at the 14-minute marker. At this time, people generally go kind of crazy. They tend to fire artillery units like non-stop. They tend to fire bombers non-stop. Like, they're looking for every little edge, every little advantage, because time is very important. If they can't return to stalemate in 5 minutes. Actually, it's 3 minutes now. If you can't return to stalemate in 3 minutes, they will lose. At stalemate, if they're not in the lead, and they stay stalemate, they will lose. If they can't get territory back or negate enough commands from the opponent, they will lose. And it's a really bad situation. It calls in for some pretty all-in-ish type tactics. Usually you'll see a lot of people do crazy stuff, like they'll send out 3 or 4 napalm bombers and just bomb an entire section where they believe a command armor might be. Like, if this was me playing right now, I would napalm like here, 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 and here. Just this 4 circles here, and try and get rid of that command. I would sacrifice all 4 of those bombers for it as well. As we're at the 13-minute marker, looks like we're about to see an EWGG victory here. Artillery fire is going crazy. Note, he's going for that command number on the artillery. He wants to hit it. The command has moved out of that location, and we'll move to a new one where it's not spotted. And middle base still basically in shared control. Desperation's kicking in. This is either, you know, put up or shut up, or whatever that expression, that popular expression that people used to say is. And looks like we see some Moto strategies being dropped in here to try and do something, but it's kind of the point in the game where this doesn't do anything. And it's not because it's not a good tactic, but because there's so many freaking tanks on the map. It also ends up not being the kind of thing that matters. It's all about breaking enemy lines right now. You see 2 T-80Us moving up to try and support, and if they can grab this wooded location, that would be mega. 12 minutes left, +2, and it's coming. We're now at 2:46, and we're at stalemate, and we're at a victory point. Yes, 11 minutes left. It will take, with a +1 advantage, 5 whole minutes. Actually, it's more like 3 minutes. 3 whole minutes for the Kavopici. I hope that's their name, really do. For them to catch up. It's really looking pretty bleak right now. Basically, at this point, it's getting close to either they tap out or they just do some pretty crazy all-in stuff. Getting victories on the enemy's actual units right now will not do anything. Right now, it's all about those command kills. And for those at home who think this is a nice strategic game, it's not. It's not a strategic game. It's all about getting the command kills. Last 10 minutes, you just have to get those big kills. And we're going to see this Vodka, which kind of reminds me of Godiva, the chocolate that every woman in the world must have because it's marketed directly to women and sold in bookstores. And the smell of chocolate in bookstores increases sales of books. Speaking of which, T-72s have gained the forward wooded position. That is huge. And now they're going to move into a position to be actually able to take this forward base here. Keep in mind we're at the 10-minute marker. It's kind of wise for Blue to play safe, which they're not, by the way. They're being kind of crazy here. But if they lose a lot of units, it's not too bad right now for them. They're definitely going to lose these T-72s. Just too many T-80s and way too many other T-model tanks, vehicles. Everything's going bad right now for Blue. But they're in the lead, and they absolutely should win this. Yeah. So I think this is over. I think this is probably over. Where does it go from here? Well, Kavopici will fall to the loser's bracket. Who their opponent is not completely determined yet. They'll be facing the loser of a match that hasn't been played yet. EWGG seems like they've overwhelmingly won this. Done very, very well with it. And will be a welcome challenge for their opponents, who are WTF question mark FTW exclamation point. So what the for the win. It's important you mention the exclamation points and question marks because some people think that they're actually letters that are pronounceable. And yeah, as this is coming to a close, I'm pretty sure Red Team's just looking, what can we do here? Because there's 10 minutes left in the game and there isn't anything. They're just too far behind right now. 60 points, 70 points. It just keeps gaining. They're at stalemate right now. They need to get a base. They need 3 minutes of it. And that's just not going to happen. There's already up to +1 and +2. I don't know. Oh, Makapek's out. Kind of realizes the inevitable is here. Edel is out. There we go. 1 by 1. Duro's SVK also out, and it shouldn't be too long before Moon is out. I mean, when I am the last person around, I usually quit by the point that's the last. But when I'm the last person around, I like to mess with people. I like to push all the horses forward and pretend like some big, massive, unbeatable attack is coming. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is pretty well game set match. Congratulations to EWGG. Well-deserved win here on Dalarna. And we'll be seeing more of you next week against WTF FTW. Oh my god. WTF is FTW backwards. I've never realized that until this point in my life. Is that not weird? Am I the only one who just realized this? Mind-blowing fact. I could be, I guess. That's embarrassing. Oh, see you guys for the next match.